So welcome to this Global Network webinar. My name is Alexander Loschke, and I will be moderating this webinar together with my colleagues Sean Lovell and Panya Yu. Today we have with us our colleague from the UN Economic Commission for Europe, Amilina Kipkeeva. And she will be talking about how to unlock the power of large language models for official statistics. In this webinar, we will look at the growing impact of large language models, like, for instance, ChatGPT or Claude, within the official statistics community. These advanced AI models offer great chances to boost productivity and improve user experience, but they also bring challenges related to privacy and accuracy that need careful attention. So in this webinar, you will learn how large language models can be effectively brought into the world of official statistics, opening the door to future innovations in this fast changing field. Our speaker, Amilina, will present the findings of a white paper of the high-level group for the modernization of official statistics, which provides an overview of the effects of large language models and will share real-world examples of how they are being used in various national and international organizations. Few words on our speaker. So Amilina is an associated expert in the Statistical Management and Modernization Unit of the UN Economic Commission for Europe, so our regional commission for Europe. She serves as the Secretariat for the Applying Data Science and Modern Methods group, which again is a part of the high-level group for the modernization of official statistics. Amilina is also a project manager for innovative technology initiatives, including cloud computing and generative AI for official statistics. Now, before I hand over to Amilina, just for you to know, so we will first hear the presentation before we will have a Q&A session at the end. During the presentation, feel free to write your comments and questions into the meeting chat. That's very welcome. So we can see your questions already before the Q&A. During the Q&A session, please raise your hand if you want to ask a question, and then we can give you the floor and enable your microphone and cameras. As always, this Global Network webinar is being recorded and will be made available on the Global Network of Data Officers and Statisticians at yammer.com/UNstats. And we invite you to continue the discussions on the Global Network after this webinar. So now I will hand over to you, Amilina. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Alexander, for kind introduction. I think you saved me several minutes from doing it myself, which is good. Let me share my slides with you. Might take a while.
Yeah, it always takes a little bit until it shows up. They show up.
Great, so you can see my presentation slides now.
Yeah, it's coming up. Looks good. Thank you.
Great. So first of all, thank you very much for the kind opportunity to present our projects around large language models and official statistics. And so to set the stage, I think I will introduce a bit more the HLG-MOS. So established in 2010, HLG-MOS serves as a global platform for international collaboration with the aim at modernizing statistical processes. The group enables national statistical organizations to share best practices and collectively address challenges, especially those which are related to integrating new technologies into official statistics. Our mission is mostly to enhance the efficiency, accuracy, and the relevance of official statistics in an ever-evolving technological landscape, especially nowadays. And this goal has become even more urgent with the rapid advancement of the generative AI, which we will be talking about today. So to effectively navigate this rapidly changing environment, HLG-MOS operates through several modernization groups. And these groups explore and implement innovations such as artificial intelligence and large language models within the framework of official statistics. So each group within the HLG-MOS focus on different aspects of statistical modernization, like advancing statistical methods or integrating new technologies and addressing policy and, of course, ethical uses. And all together, they form a robust structure for guiding the future of statistics in data-driven world. Why is it important and why I'm mentioning this? Because the flexible nature of the group helps us to explore emerging topics quickly and efficiently. Because sometimes when the emerging topic pops up, if you are not starting to explore it right away, it might be already too late to jump in. And one of the latest examples in our explanation is the large language models, or LLMs, which led to a white paper. You can see the cover of the white paper on the screen. And this white paper evolved into a full-scale project on generative AI. So the white paper was released in December of the last year, and immediately after that, we started to work on the project of generative AI. So generative AI project is a continuation of the white paper. I need to clarify it now so there would be no confusion during the presentation, because I will refer to both of them. So our goal in this white paper was to understand the power of large language models and how can they modernize the way we conduct and disseminate official statistics, which ultimately making our work more efficient and accessible. And in today's webinar, my focus will be mostly to share the information we compiled in the white paper, along with some current findings from our generative AI projects and the recent survey we conducted on the use of AI in official statistics. But before diving into all of this, I think it's important to understand the technologies at the core of these initiatives. So I assume we have a very broad audience with a different technical background. So I suggest we explore what large language models are and why they're so significant to our work. So what exactly are large language models? This is a screenshot from the white paper, but nothing changed much, so I reuse it. So large language models are a form of artificial intelligence designed to understand, interpret, and generate human-like text. So they've shown the tremendous potential in transforming tasks such as language translation, summarization, text generation, and they are becoming more and more relevant to the work we do in official statistics. But large language models for now, at least we can see it's a culmination of continuous development and evolution in the field of artificial intelligence. And understanding where they fit within the AI landscape will help us to understand their capabilities and limitations more. So you can see that the base of this whole technology can be called as artificial intelligence, which is a broad field focused mostly on creating systems capable of performing tasks that typically require human intelligence, such as problem solving, learning, reasoning, perception, and language understanding. Then there is another dimension, which is machine learning, that can be called as a subset of AI that enables computers to improve their performance on specific tasks by learning from data without being explicitly programmed. So a machine is trained to learn itself. Another subset, so it's a further subset of machine learning, is deep learning, which uses artificial neural networks with multiple layers to automatically discover patterns in large volumes of data, which is highly used in tasks, mostly in image and speech recognition. And now we're coming to a topic that's been on everybody's mind for the last several years, which is generative AI. which is again refers to artificial intelligence broader systems that can generate new content or data not explicitly derived from existing examples, but being able to generate the content itself, including texts, images, and even music nowadays. But we will get to the use cases a bit later on today. So coming to the large language models, we can say that it's a type of generative AI designed to understand and generate human language by predicting the next word in the sentence based on the patterns it's learned from a large amount of text. So a popular example we put there on this image is ChatGPT, but as was mentioned, it's Monica, Claude, and maybe already other GPT-likes tools. But it's also important here to highlight that large language models, they doesn't know the information in the way we do, like as humans. It doesn't have knowledge or understanding. The way it works, it predicts the next word based on the pattern that it has learned from the data it was trained on. So it generates responses by using statistical associations between words and phrases, but it doesn't really truly understand the meaning. So while it can provide accurate or useful information, which mostly is the case, it also essentially making predictions of the next probable word rather than recalling facts from the memory like we do. Okay, so as was mentioned, the possibilities for using large language models are very impressive, but of course they have their own limits. So to start, I think many of us are already using large language models in our everyday work without even thinking about it. So I would ask you to react now, like if you are using GPT, Monica, or Claude to help draft emails, correct spellings, or assist with reporting. So if you use it for daily routine tasks, you can give a reaction here. But if you are not reacting, I'm sure you are using it, so it's fine. Okay, I see a lot of reactions. So you are familiar with how it works for daily tasks. So large language models helps us at automating routine tasks like in statistical organization, but basically I think it's like any other organization because we all have to draft emails, we have to manage reports, we have to translate documents, and this is a very effective way to use the large language models, and it can significantly boost our productivity. However, using large language models is not perfect because they are not perfect, and human oversight is very much needed. And I will repeat this point often during this presentation because human oversight is the key to using AI responsibly. Another important aspect to keep in mind is that large language models operate as black boxes, so they rely on massive data sets, which often means that they come with inherent biases. If, for example, the trained data is inaccurate, large language model will reproduce this inaccurate data. And again, their primarily function is to predict words, which means they can produce responses that could sound very convincing, but may be inaccurate or even make no sense while sounding, again, very convincing. That's what we call as hallucinations. That's why prompt engineering is very important when you work with large language models. I will not go here in the details because we have no time for that. But we are working on it with our generative AI projects. One of the deliverables includes a detailed chapter on prompt engineering. So if you're interested in this topic, stay tuned for the release of this part. Then what else large language models can help us when we talk about statistics? It has potential to streamline various stages of statistical production from survey design to data dissemination. For example, they can suggest survey questions, validate unedited data, and generate synthetic data for testing. They can assist with metadata management, coding, language translation, all of which are crucial for statistical organizations. But despite these efficiencies, human supervision, again, is the key to ensure the quality of the output of large language models. They can also facilitate processes, but they are not substitute for human judgment, particularly in tasks that require domain-specific expertise. You can train the model, but I think we're still a bit far from there. Another part is that large language models, they're changing the way people access information. So, for example, instead of navigating complex databases, user can engage in conversational queries, making data more accessible, which is good. However, as large language models grow in popularity, official statistical organizations, they must adapt to maintain their relevance. Because while the models provide historical data, issues with timelines and quality always can arise. So this makes it essential for NSOs to offer high quality, accurate, and timely data that large language models alone cannot guarantee. And with this part, I want to move to the risks and some of the mitigation measures we found out while we were working on the large language model white paper. So while LLMs offer substantial opportunities that I mentioned briefly before, they also pose significant risk that needed careful considerations. So let's briefly cover the key risks of implementing LLMs in statistical organizations. Now, so you can see I put it in the very center, so there is no chance for you not to see it, that one of the important consideration is, of course, ethical consideration. Ethical obligations extend beyond mere compliance with laws. They truly underpin the trust that statistical organizations must maintain. For institutions delivering official statistics, it's very important to ensure that public confidence and uphold a social license to operate. Ethical principles like do not harm are foundational in the use of AI as in everything else. So large language models must not be used in ways that cause harm, like doesn't matter if intended or unintended. For example, bias, as I mentioned already in training data, can lead to discriminatory outputs. And it's important to define clear expected benefits and maintaining a risk register. And by doing it, it can help mitigate these harms. And we also need to ensure that large language models are used for defined purposes, that it's aligned with organizational needs, and that it respects human authority. And then fairness, non-discrimination, safety, security, transparency, they are all the key principles to keep in mind when you're working with large language model. Next point is accuracy and validation. So large language models can generate text that may sound very convincing, but again, it isn't always factually correct. They lacked validation mechanism, which means human verification is very much needed at this step as well. So different inaccuracies, biases, model drift are common challenges we found out, and retraining models with updated data is very important, but sometimes it can be costly. That's why it's in a way risk, because sometimes there might be a preference to avoid the retraining to save money, but in the end it can result in bigger challenges to solve. Another point is privacy security. So I think it's one of the major concern when people are talking about implementing large language models, because there is a chance that it can leak sensitive information or it can create data poisoning. Mitigation strategies could include strict data governance, limiting large language access to sensitive data, and again, human oversight before publishing LLM-generated content. And also there's kind of like literacy that you need to know what you can put in the large language model and what you cannot put there. Next one is legal and copyright issue. For example, if you train your model on copyrighted material, it can lead to legal liabilities, and large language generated content can raise certain concerns. To mitigate this, you can adopt content provenance protocols and understand better the legal landscape you operate in, especially when you rely on external large language model providers. And the last one, lack of literacy and misuse. So many users may not fully understand large language models' limitations, leading to potential misuse, as mentioned, for example, leaking confidential information or trusting incorrect outputs. So here you should educate and train constantly to address these issues alongside providing clear policies to guide large language model use and prevent challenging situations. So it's important to recognize these basic risks. Of course, there are more and they are rising, but I would say that these 5 are the basic ones. And you should recognize them and take appropriate measures if you want to really use large language models effectively while minimizing potential downsides. Keeping this all in mind and to better understand the landscape we are operating now, we decided to conduct a survey during the 72nd Conference of European Statisticians earlier this summer. We started this survey in June, and we sum up the results in July, August. So it's the freshest results we have for now. And so we gathered insights from 36 national and 5 international organizations worldwide involved in official statistics. So this survey provided a snapshot how generative AI is being adopted and the challenges organizations are facing now. And I don't know if you can really see if it's accessible, the QR code you see on the screen. But if not, I can post a link in the chat later. But anyway, this QR code will lead you to the full report and infographics of the survey. So let me briefly talk about some results we gained. So there is a broad agreement that generative AI will significantly impact efficiency, particularly in IT-related areas, coding, dissemination, and communication. Almost all organizations have started using AI with a major focus for code and IT development and data processing. However, despite this widespread adoption, you can see many organizations still lack of formal policies governing AI use. And key concerns include data security, privacy, accuracy, and ethical considerations, like what we talked on the previous slide. Mitigation strategies such as developing internal policies and providing staff training were highlighted as crucial to addressing these issues. And interestingly, only 5% of organizations reported not using AI at all, which in our opinion underscores the technology's growing importance. And as I move forward, I will share some of the most compelling use cases highlighting how organizations are already leveraging AI across different application areas. And when I say AI here, I mean mostly generative AI, that's large language models in this case. Because machine learning, for example, or deep learning is something else, and we were not considering it while we were compiling the survey or creating white paper, for example. So while we are focusing on several key areas today, I want to note that the potential applications of generative AI in official statistics, of course, extends far beyond the example we will talk about. So let's start with use cases in data processing and analysis. You can see there are the stars. Actually, I googled what is the correct name of this symbol in English, and it was something else, but I also googled if I can call it a star, and yes, I can. So you can see star here. These are the use cases covered in a greater detail in the large language models white paper. So there you can find sections on business problems, value addition, results, and HR requirements, quality metrics, stakeholder responses, barriers, risks, and mitigations on the specific use cases. So if you want to know more, please refer to the white paper. And also, we have compiled the use case repository accessible via QR code. Or again, if it's not accessible for you, I can post a link later. We have compiled 23 individual use cases there, which you can also read more and connect with the author if you are interested in more technical details. Okay, so the first application area I want to cover now is data processing and analysis. According to our survey, 46% of respondents are using AI for tasks like data editing, synthetic data generation, classification, and 39% use it for analytical purposes like report generation. As example, Bank of International Settlements has developed AI tools for metadata editing, which automate tasks like correcting spelling, formatting, and grammar checking. And according to them, this not only saves time for them, but also enhances consistency and accuracy across databases. And the latest update I got from them that they are thinking about how they can train like different models to communicate with each other, excluding the human supervision, like at this stage. Another area of application is statistical classification. Here we have the example of the Australian Bureau of Statistics, who used large language models to update occupation codes. And according to their experiments, they achieved a 70% quality rate compared to human efforts, and they saved over 1,600 working hours. They also presented us the test that they ran, and majority of the expert, they couldn't tell what occupation code was created by the human and what occupation code was created by LLM. And their last update from them that they are participating in the Australian National Award for Innovations. The results will be run in mid-November, so fingers crossed this use case will win, but I think it's an indication of a clear success of the application of large language model in this area. Next one is synthetic data generation, which is also the area of growing importance. So LLMs can generate data that fulfill specific characteristics like creating balanced samples for machine learning models. And according to the survey, several statistical organizations are actively exploring this potential. We don't have compiling use cases for now, but we're trying to be updated on their developments in this area. Then in data processing and analysis area, there is important use case on report generation. We have the example of Bundesbank in Germany. They are developing the text-based intelligent assistant platform. I think they developed it already. It's for internal use, and they use various versions of ChatGPT to generate reports in both English and German. Similarly, Statistics Canada is experimenting with AI to draft reports from census data, creating detailed articles that, of course, they then reviewed for accuracy because it's census data, so it should be perfect. Next one is code and IT development. According to our survey, 71% of respondents are using or experimenting at least with AI for coding tasks. This includes code generation, translation, and assisting in coding processes. And one notable example we have from Central Statistics Office of Ireland. They developed the SAS to R transcompiler using OpenAI's API. With this tool, they automate the translation of SAS code to R, which significantly reducing the time and effort requiring to transition between these two programming languages. And this application is already in production, and they has been open sourced it on the GitHub. So it allows others to benefit from this innovative solution. And as we know, the similar tool has been developed at INSEE France. So this example in code translation illustrates how AI can play an important role in modernizing IT operations within statistical organizations, which can make the process more efficient and also enable faster adaptations to these new technologies. And the last area I want to cover, but of course not the least, is communication. This is, for example, where my personal journey with AI began, as I explore how generative AI could help us improve the communication of official statistics. So AI is helping to create clearer, more engaging content, which is normally a cornerstone for maintaining public trust and transparency, which we are aiming to. For example, in our statistics division at UNECE, we use large language models to craft social media posts, and we try to ensure consistency in tone and style. For example, I trained a model with a manually written by me posts that I reviewed, and now if I want to write the post very fast, I just put the basic information to the model I wrote, and it gives me the already ready to go post, more or less in the style as I would write it. So with this, it helps to maintain the coherence in our messaging, and also using AI, like we are trying to use AI to generate visuals that be aligned with our, let's call it, brand identity. You can see the QR code here, another QR code. I don't know if you can access it again or not. Apologies for that, but this is a link to our LinkedIn page where you can see that the posts and the AI images are mostly produced with the help of generative AI. And as we know, Statistics Indonesia is exploring similar approach with visuals as we do. And apart from visuals, AI is also being used to create other non-textual content, such as audio and videos. We don't have a lot of examples in this area, but we have an example from Statistics Canada, who are exploring AI-driven approaches to generate bilingual content with narration and visuals, and they try to enhance both the reach and accessibility of their data. So that this demonstrates a broad potential of AI in not only creating content, but also in making it more accessible and engaging for diverse audiences, which is again crucial for building trust in official statistics. And to do so, one of the key objectives is to simplify technical jargon into plain language. Like, I don't know if you use this prompt. Sometimes I do explain if I was 5. It's very useful. So we need to simplify technical statistical jargon into plain understandable language that is easy accessible to wider audience and to simplify the information navigations. As example, AI-powered chatbots can help bridge these gaps by providing a more intuitive and more user-friendly interface for answering questions like about data or metadata, and numerous statistical organizations are exploring this approach according to our survey. Okay, so minding the timing, I think we are approaching the conclusion of the presentation now. And as we do so, let's talk more about the current deliverables of our project as, again, as a continuation of the white paper for the large language models. So given the rapid advancement of generative AI in the field, we found out that unified global approach is very important to fully understand the opportunities and limitations of these technologies. And although the final shape of the outcome is yet to be defined, we are focusing now on creating a framework for sharing use cases, comparing AI applications, and addressing strategic considerations such as risk management and AI policies. We are also trying to develop a tailored governance framework to manage AI-related risks, including accuracy, privacy, and ethics, and other risks that were mentioned earlier during the presentation. So these frameworks hopefully will guide statistical organizations in implementing AI both effectively and, what is even more important, responsibly. And another key area of our focus is on understanding the foundations of prompt engineering and AI system architectures, which involves emphasizing strategies for quality assurance and selecting the right AI model based on scalability, performance, and cost effectiveness, because the number of AI models that is on the market now is progressing very fast, and it's very difficult for statistical organization to define which one would be the right suit for them. So for all these efforts, international collaboration and knowledge sharing are crucial as we navigate this evolving landscape. So again, many thanks for Alex and colleagues to organize this series of webinar, which is very useful for that. And from our side, we are committed to creating an environment where best practices and innovations can be shared openly. So if you have any use case that could be interesting for us, it would be very interesting to know more. But if you don't have any use cases, it's fine, because despite of the growing collection of them, the use of large language models in statistical organization is still in its infancy, we can say. And if you don't know where to start, we recommend the following short-term actions. First one is training. So it's important for organizations to provide training across technical, operational, and managerial levels to raise awareness of large language models capabilities and limitations, and how to use it responsibly, of course. Next one is pilot projects. So maybe it's useful to start with small pilot projects to explore large language models applications, to build familiarity, and, for example, to identify potential value before you scale it up. And with open source opportunities that are available now, you don't even need to start from scratch. You can search what's open sourced already and try to customize it based on your need. Then develop an LLM strategy. So once you know how it's working, once you are aware and familiar with that, it's a good step to create an overall strategy for large language model integration. And the last one, but definitely not the least in this case, it's to stay updated, because since the public release of GPT-3, different large language model applications have multiplied progressively. I tried to find the chart I once saw, like maybe a year ago, so I couldn't. Apologize. There was a chart that there was a like line with the development of different AI and generative AI models, which are progressively quite like steadily and slowly. And then after 2021, when the GPT-3 was released, it's like going sharply up. So it's very important to devote continuous efforts to staying in the loop of technological developments and adapting these practices accordingly. And with that, I want to thank you very much for your attention. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, or you can contact me via email if you're interested in joining the project or learning more about our initiatives with HLG-MOS, if you want to share your use cases or discuss them. So thank you very much. Open for the questions.
Thanks so much, Amilina, for this great presentation. I mean, I can also still remember when ChatGPT was first launched and I tried it out. At that time, you still needed to get an invitation and so on. And they wanted to limit, of course, a little bit the use to save bandwidth and so on. But it was really, I would say, an eye-opener. I thought, okay, this is going to be really cool and interesting. And yeah, and then people started experimenting with it and so on. So I would like to open the floor now for questions and comments maybe. I will also try to switch on the cameras and the microphones in the meantime. I hope this will work. So if you have a question, please raise your hand and we will try to give you the floor. I'm trying to switch it on right now and I cannot see the hands right now because maybe Panya, you can have a look. Are there any questions already? Now I can.
I don't see hands yet, but maybe
Yeah,
Amilina could take the 2 questions in the chat while we're trying to turn on the
yeah,
camera.
exactly. Thanks. So now I can see my screen again. So maybe I saw a question there from a colleague from UNECE from Mexico. Itzel, you want to try to come in? I think you can unmute yourself now and put on the camera if you wish. If you don't want to do that, I can read out the question. So you want to come in? Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, hi. Good morning, guys. Well,
Yes,
I have
please.
a question. It was about the policies that an organization needs to use for this generative AI. Sometimes I have noticed that not too many countries do have those policies, or it's hard to do them. And my second part of the question is, what are the most common challenges when an organization is trying to develop these policies? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Yeah, policies is a very interesting topic in this regard because it's something that needs to be developed from scratch in a way, and there is definitely a delay between the practical solutions and approaches organizations are exploring nowadays and the policies existing. One of the reasons because I know for European countries, organizations were waiting for the release of European AI Act, so EU AI Act, and they were not pushing for developing something in-house in terms of policies before the release of major document. But now as it's been released, we see that the policies are being progressed. And generally, I would say that last several months, we see more and more policies. We're thinking about combining them also as a repository. So we will keep you updated on this regard.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think that's one of the issues that are really popping up also within our own office at the UN Statistics Division, right? Where with the appearance of the generative AI tools, people were not really secure if they were allowed to use them or how they could use them. So there are a lot of insecurities there, and clear guidance is not yet there. I guess one guidance that came out of our internal discussions is always check the outputs, right? When you use generative AI, always check it for correctness, and I think that's one of the best advices one can give. There was another question similar on governance and regulatory frameworks by Omar. Omar, if you want to come in. Otherwise, I can also read that one out. Omar, yeah, please go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please
Thank
go
you.
ahead.
I'm really sorry because I don't have the camera on my machine, but
No worries.
thank you very much for this wonderful presentation, Amilina. My question was, if you had any advice or insight on the potential use of AI in developing and strengthening governance and regulatory framework for official statistics in countries that are really very lagging very behind on these issues. And also, in addition to that, I may like that from your presentation. In my country, in terms of statistics, we really have a lot of gaps to fill. And one of the major gaps is the gaps in human resources. So we try to train people, but it will take us many, many years. So I was wondering if, in addition to the regulatory framework, I think you mentioned some of them, and we could also like if AI could come in to fill, but not really in like major way, but at least some of these gaps. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's a very important question you are asking, and it's a very big concern. I think it's something that should be kept in mind, that even though generative AI sparked lots of interest among us generally, it's just another new technology. So in a way, there is no new approach in handling this technology in terms of the gap between developing and developed countries. Maybe also worth mentioning that developed countries, they're also learning now because there are no, at least yet, ready-to-go solutions. And with our projects, we see, like with the use case exploration, we see that like in a way, countries are all going through the same process of trying to understand what is generative AI and how it can be used for official statistics. The advantage maybe the developing countries are nowadays, because they are like, we are all in the open source environment now. So with the open source, it's easier to get the access to different tools. You don't need to implement them from scratch or develop them from scratch. You can get ready to go solution from the open source. You can get several of them and you can customize them based on your need. So I would say that will be my answer for now. And also you're very welcome to join us because we have not only developing countries, we have developed countries as well joining our calls. Maybe not that to actively contribute, but to learn with us.
Thank you. Yeah, Omar, if you're interested, please maybe just put your email address in the chat so Amilina can follow up with you later on. Let's take the next question. So it's more a technical question from Sarsen. Sarsen, can you please come in and also say for which institution you work?
Yes, hello everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay, so my name is Sarsen. I'm from the Bureau of National Statistics of Kazakhstan. So we are now also trying to adopt the AI tools for the usage as a co-pilot, also as a part of statistical production. So we have already some results, some experiments. For example, for classification of unstructured data, we are using ML models to classify the text from scanner data because it's like it doesn't have classification codes. So we built the models that help us to classify the text from scanner data from fiscal receipts to assign them the code of a product or services. So this is one example. Another example, we are trying also to use it as a chatbot for our users of statistical information. So we already have some results, but it requires much more computing power to fine tune further. And what we are facing as one of the challenges for us is, so as I said, the computing power. And one of the options is just to invest more, like to get that attract additional budget. But maybe I was wondering if some organizations also face a similar challenge, or maybe they have some agreement or collaboration maybe with big tech companies, so that for the use of statistical production, they could have some maybe a little bit different mechanisms of collaboration. So generally, I was interested in this question. Thank you.
Thank you for the question and congratulations with your AI developments in Kazakhstan. I think it's very impressive. We would want to know more about your use cases in the detail. But as for your question, I'm not aware of any statistical organization having a specific partnership with big corporations in the field of generative AI. From the survey, we know that some organizations, they mostly just extend the use of their subscriptions. Like, for example, majority of the organization, they have contracts with Microsoft, and they can advance the use of Monica, for example, through which they can use ChatGPT and so on. Yeah, so I'm not aware of any additional contracts of the statistical organizations just for the use of generative AI. Yeah, and also I don't think we have the cost management in details because it's quite sensitive information from the statistical organizations.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that question. Let me take the next one in the chat. Nicolas, you want to come in? Okay, so yeah, please go ahead, Nicolas. Your volume is very low. Maybe you have the microphone. Can you try again?
Yes, it's here. Can
Okay.
you hear me?
Yes, now.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Amilina, for this presentation. The question relates to the use of AI specifically for the production of statistics, rather than also, I think, internal use, as this is well said also in the next comment. So transforming the leads that you can generate to, for instance, a web scraping system into more of an indicators or statistics. Have you seen this kind of work as part of your mapping? Thank you.
Oh, thank you for the question. Your question really got me thinking. I cannot navigate you to the specific use case in mind yet, but maybe you could check the repository we have. I think UNECE has done something similar, but not exactly the same thing you're asking.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I wanted to add that Nicolas, you're working for the Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights. That's correct, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Then we have Christoph. Christoph, if you want to come in, he works for the Regional Commission for Asia and the Pacific.
Yes, hi everybody. I work for the Statistical Institute for Asia and the Pacific, training institute. So I was very happy that you mentioned training as something that NSO should do in the future. Thank you for that, Melina. Yeah, my question was more a comment between the distinction of trying to use AI or LLM for internal use as a copilot, something that helps, and having something more automated, more reliable, more sustainable, and more reproducible, versus putting a chatbot that will answer to people and provide official statements or official statistics, where the responsibility of the NSO would be somehow engaged. So I wanted to have your views between the two use, internal use and external use. I think it was related to Nicolas' question. And somehow I would like to know your views on these two approaches, two use by NSO of AI.
Again, very interesting, deep question. Yeah, I would say that there is a difference between the internal and external use, especially taking into account that external use is, in a way, one of the application of, what can be used internally as well. But probably there are different challenges, opportunities, and risks, but there are also similar one that maybe with the external use there is extra pressure for the organization to ensure that the output is as accurate and as coherent as it can be. So, yeah, but I'm happy to follow up more and to talk more about this.
Yeah, probably the future will tell, right? On that. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Christoph. So if there are additional questions, just a reminder, please raise your hand and then you can ask your question personally, or if you want, you can also type it into the chat. Maybe I have a question for Amilina. So this repository of use cases for generative AI, how does that work? How can one add to this repository and give you the information? How would that work?
Well, you need to let us know what is the use case is about, like provide us with the detailed information so we could understand it and our readers would understand it as well. And if it follows the criteria for putting the use case on the repository, we will do it. And we would be very grateful for helping us growing the repository.
Yeah, I think that's very helpful for people just to check if they have an idea of using generative AI. They can already check, okay, has somebody done that before? So I think that's really helpful. So they would just write an email to you, or you want to put the email address, or if you have an institutional email address, just put it in the chat so people know where to write to.
Yes, I will put my email in the chat now, so I would be happy to follow up and talk more about what was discussed today. But also my colleague in Kyung put the very important comment that you can make a direct pull request in their link. So
Oh,
yeah,
very
if you
good.
want to compile a use case.
That's great. Then I have one more question was from the registration form. If there are no other questions from the floor right now. Yeah, I think we had a similar question already before, but I just wanted to pick up on that once more. So the question is, have large language models and AI pushed the divide further apart between developing and developed statistical systems? And the question is also how this can be addressed, from data ownership, privacy, to computing power, talent, and infrastructure. So what can be done to prevent that, let's say, the digital divide between developing and developed statistical systems grows?
Yes, and again, in a way, I will repeat myself that there is nothing new with tackling this problem because it's just another technical application that can spread the gap, but I think it also can be mitigated in the same manner. And from our side, what we can do as international community, we can make the knowledges and data accessible. And so try to bridge these gaps with, for example, training data or like, as I said, like code development application tools that can be open sourced, and also invite, make the doors of our projects open for all of the participants. Doesn't matter from what kind of cultural background and the level of technical development they are going. And yeah, probably in the nearest future, and we have Christoph here provide extensive training. So yeah, that would be it.
Thank you, Amilina. There is also a question here in the chat, not for you, Amilina, but maybe just to point out that we will share the recording of this Global Network webinar on the Global Network of Data Officers and Statisticians. I will put the link into the chat where you can sign up if you are not yet a member. So we are approaching basically the end of this webinar now. I just wanted to point out also, apart from the possible increased gap between developed and developing countries, there's also a possible new gender gap caused by generative AI, and we will have a global network webinar on that topic next month, actually. So we will have two researchers from the University of Chicago and the University of Copenhagen who will be talking about this. So please look out for the invitation and also for our next newsletter, and you will find the information in there. So I think we can close now, but before we do, maybe everyone can switch on their cameras for a few seconds and also the microphones. That would be really great. And please join me to give a big round of applause for Amilina for this very great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amilina.
Thank you very much. Thank
Thank
you.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
And in about 2 weeks, we will have a global network webinar on Beyond GDP. I will send out, or we will send out the invitation and the information about that one shortly. So thanks everyone for joining. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you very much, Amilina, again for doing this presentation. Thanks.
Thank you for organizing. Thank you for joining. Bye.